Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soul Sparkle Radio. I'm so happy to have you join us today, and I'm also thrilled to be joined by my sweet friend, Kate Butler. Kate is a #1 best-selling author, certified professional success coach, and intuitive strategist. Kate has been featured on HBO and in Jack Canfield's newest release, Living the Success Principles. She's also shared the speaking stage with celebrity cooking sensation Laura Vitale and forward thought leaders Jack Canfield, Patty Aubrey, and Marianne Williamson. Kate's books have received prestigious Mom's Choice Awards for Excellence, the Reader's Favorite International Book Award, and multiple other fabulous recognitions across the country. Kate will publish her 6th book this year, and her passion is intuitive coaching her clients through their own transformation and breakthrough so they can identify their life mission and begin living on their highest path. We are so excited to have you here today, Kate. Welcome.
That is such a trip listening to that being read right in front of me.
Isn't it funny? I know. I love it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you got. I just want people to know, like, who you're, what we're talking about here today. So we're so happy to have you, Kate. It's been a pleasure to get to know you in real life, IRL, the last year, and so excited to be able to spend this time with you today. We start the episodes pretty much the same way. The rest is fairly unscripted, but would love to just dive in and have you share with us and the listeners what makes your soul sparkle, what lights you up from the inside out.
What? So much, but if I'm getting down to the core of what lights me up from the inside out and really makes my soul sparkle, I would say that question really began when I was spending time with my 2 daughters. So they are now 7 and soon to be 5 next week. I can't even believe it. And when they were just babies and I began to, kind of talk with them and teach them about life and the things that I wanted them to know about life, I realized that there were not a lot of books out there. There were not a lot of people out there. There were not a lot of things out there that actually supported the way that I wanted my children to think about life. And it really set me on a new path to say, how do I raise these children? How do I communicate with them from a conscious parenting perspective? How do I enter these children, kind of into a mindset, or at least introduce them to these philosophies of how I live my life? I never realized it was as different as it was until I began trying to teach it to my children. And then I began to see that there really wasn't a lot of people out there that shared the same perspective that I did. So that set me on a path of creating that children's book series, which teaches children the power of a positive perspective, and it teaches children the power of the miracle mindset. And that was really what began to, kind of light me up from the inside out, if you will. It started with my children, but what happened was I began to see the impact that it had on their way of thinking, their power of choice, their power of turning, what can be considered a muddy situation into a positive situation. And I began to see the effect that it would have on all the children that I would share these stories with. And then from there, it turned into, wow, now these moms who are buying my children's books are approaching me and they're saying, can you share with me a little bit more about what you're teaching the children? And do you also teach this to the moms? And so to answer the question now of what really lights me up from the inside out and makes my soul sparkle is really the opportunity to share the miracle mindset and the power of perspective with the masses to really be able to inspire them into a different consciousness level so that they can really truly live not only the life that they desire, but the life that I know and that I'm speaking to you out there who's listening, that you deserve. And that's really what lights me up.
Yeah. I love it, because what you did was you started with your own inner circle, right? Your family, and
Yeah.
you're using those gifts, talents, and teachings to now help mothers around the world inspire, train, and motivate their own children as well as themselves to create a life that they love. So I feel like, you've been on quite a journey, right, to get to this place. And a lot of things that we talk about here on the show is just around, I am currently in this time and space living my definition of what a magical life is, right? This is the one that I've been dreaming of for as long as I can remember. And I'm in it. I'm doing it. It hasn't always been magical, right? But my definition of a magical life looks very different than your definition, but yours is equally like exciting and fantastic and like full of miracles and magic as well, right? I know that it hasn't always been that way for you either. So maybe would you mind sharing with the listeners just a little bit about the path that it took for you to get here? Because I think a lot of times it's easy to see where people are in one place in time, and not realizing that there's a whole lot that has happened to get to this point. So I've always feel like that might be a benefit to our listeners to hear kind of the journey that it took you to get from where you were and then to where you are now, in this place of just spaciousness and ease and love and grace, because that's what I see when I'm with you, when I see you and your work in the world. That's what it feels like. So I'd love for you to share with us anything that you feel called around that.
Well, first of all, thank you for that acknowledgement and honoring what you see there, because it is important to me that the work feels that there is some space around it, and that there is ease around it, and that it is operating at a certain vibration, that people can connect with it in that way, because it's only within that space of, ease and allowing versus pushing, and opening up to those different energy fields, that we can really begin to connect, with that miracle vibration. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. So, my journey began, really shifting for me when I was about 27 years old, which for now is 10 years ago for me. And I was in corporate America, super high powered career, had like the corner office and, all the places actually. One in California, and then I went to the East Coast, and then I was in Philadelphia and up and down the Eastern Seaboard. And, I was making all the things happen and checking all the things off my list, and all the, things that really, that I had literally put down on paper to check them off my list of what I thought was going to be a successful life. I was doing pretty good on my list, pretty good checking things off. And then when I was 27, I was driving home from work one day, and I was forced to pull over to the side of the road because I was in such excruciating pain that it forced me to pull over. And then once I did pull over, my arms went numb, my hands went numb, and I eventually just lost, I blacked out. And from the pain, it was I couldn't feel my arms or my hands, but my chest, it felt like someone was ripping my heart out of my chest. It was a very unique feeling that I hope I never experience again. And what happened in that moment was first of all, I thought that was for sure it for me. I had never experienced anything even close to that before. And, here I am, on the side of the road, and I just started to have a conversation with God, thinking to myself, this must be it. So I'm like bargaining at that point. I was in sales, I was like, I got to use what I know. Use all my sales techniques on God. Like, oh my gosh, God bless my 27-year-old self. And I was, I really was though, like, kind of saying, wow, here I am going at full speed. And I forgot that I had all these dreams that I was also supposed to be doing. And I thought I had plenty of time to get to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like I felt like I missed out on anything, but I did believe at 27 that I had plenty of time to still get to all of that stuff. To the relationships, to the family dinners, to the vacations, to the dreams, to the things I thought I would create when I was 5 years old. You know what I mean? Like, all of that stuff I still had, and I didn't have any more time in that moment. And so, you know, I remember kind of saying in my mind, you know, if I can be graced with the opportunity of more time, then I would make a vow in that moment that I would always show up for my life. And I remember coming out of heart surgery, and my parents were there, the doctors were there, and they were saying, so excited, oh, you've been healed, and like, we fixed you, and like, all this fun, everything went well with the surgery. And I was just kind of smiling, like thinking to myself, well, that's cute. Like, I thought it was really cute, because I knew that when I opened my eyes that day, you know what I mean, that that the deal had been made, and that I was going to be fine. And it had a lot more to do with my emotional heart and my soul heart than it had to do with my actual physical heart. I think that there was a beautiful combination of both. I think there's a place for traditional medicine, and that certainly was one of the places for it, but it wasn't just about my physical heart. And so, you know, I went on over the next 7 years to do what I promised to do, which was show up. You know, I met my, you know, I had a boyfriend at the time. We ended up getting married. We had kids. I went on to do more in my career, and I got the white picket fence and the big McMansion and the whole nine, all the things that I really was like, I'm showing up. Like, I wanted this. I want to create a family. I want to get married. I want to do these things. And I remember standing in the middle of my career one day, and I just was like, it chokes me up even to this day, because I can go back there so easily and so quickly. You know, when you talk about the moments that were not so easy, you know, and the times that were just really hard. And I remember looking around and realizing that in every aspect of my life, I was showing up so big for someone else. You know, here I was killing it in my corporate career, and I was showing up big time, you know, for my corporate company. And I was showing up big time, you know, as a mom, and I was showing up big time as a wife and as a friend and as a daughter. And I just remember standing there, like, in the middle of like this life that I had created, and this life of everything that I thought I wanted, and a life that I thought I was really showing up for. And I remember the feeling in that moment of such emptiness. And I was like, wow, I am showing up for everyone else, but there is nothing about my life right now that indicates that I am showing up for myself. And that was kind of the moment that like switched everything for me, where I just went, wow, something's got to change here. Because at that point, it wasn't just about me anymore. Like, now it was about my children, and I had these little girls, and it was, I wanted to teach them that anything was possible, and that there was this world of miracles out there that was available to them. And I knew this my whole life. And here I was, someone who was pretty much living life for everyone else but me. And that was the moment that things began to shift and change for me. It was in that moment that I made the decision that I was going to, you know, begin a different journey. And it was that journey that then led me to the children's books and the inspirational speaking and hosting events for women, so that they can, first of all, give themselves permission to say, it's okay wherever I am right now. It's okay. Exactly where you are is perfect. Because if I had stood there in that moment and judged the shit out of myself, sorry, if we're not allowed to cuss on the show. If I had just stood there in that moment and judged myself and hated myself for it, and I'm not saying there wasn't some of that went on, but if I had stayed there, if I had stayed in that place, I'd probably still be in that place.
Right.
You can allow all of the feelings And then you can take a step back and look at the feelings instead of getting in the boat with the feelings and sailing away with the feelings, right? So I got out of the boat somehow by the grace of God, and I got back on shore, and I recognized the feelings. I still had them sometimes, but I separated myself enough to know that I'm here to do a job. I'm here to fulfill a mission. And I don't know what the heck that looks like right now, but I'm going to freaking figure it out.
I'm going to do it.
And that's what I did. And I spent the next, several months really just being with that so that I could figure out what that looked like. That eventually led me to the children's books. Yeah.
Yeah. And when was that, Kate? When was that moment in the foyer? How long ago was that?
That was 5 years ago.
Okay. So 5 years. And in 5 years, you've now created not only a way to show up for everyone else in your life, but strongly for yourself and strongly for your purpose. You've taken a stand for what you're meant to do in the world. And so that's not easy. And so I just want to also acknowledge and honor the fact that you did get out of the boat, because that's one of the hardest things to do is redirect, course correct, right?
Yeah. Sure.
I know for me, I found myself at one point, I had created an entire life that looked nothing like me. And I'm looking around thinking, how the hell did this happen, right? And it does take an act of courage sometimes to really step out of the path that you've been on and find your way to the true path of what's going to really light you up. So I'm so glad that you had that moment, and so glad that you chose to do that next thing, even when you didn't know what it was, right? And I think that's what's so lovely about kind of like intuition and like being in tune with your body, right? Like you mentioned that the emotional heart versus the physical heart. I feel like there are some times in our lives when we're not able to hear our intuition, or we choose not to listen to it over time. And after a long enough time, our body's like, okay, great. We gave you a shot all these different ways. You're not paying attention. So we're going to do this other thing. And hopefully that will wake you up. And so thankful that you were able to get through that physical manifestation of that change needed to happen and get back to where you needed to be. So, and now you're in this iteration of you, which is gorgeous and glorious. And now you're using all of that, the suffering or the just all of those experiences into now your service, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting in that space, because I had gotten so far off course, when I didn't know what was next, that was really scary for me at that time. It was really scary that I knew I couldn't continue in that way. The awareness around the fact that I was showing up for everyone else and not showing up for myself was enough to say it has to be different. But I had no idea what different looked like, and I knew that there was something else out there for me, but not knowing what that thing was frightening. I will say that now when I have an unknown, it is like I found gold. I am like, yay! I have no idea what's next. It's going to be so exciting. It's a blank canvas. Get the paint out. We're going to make an art piece. Like, I am just so excited because it's such an opportunity now. Like, it's such a blessing to be able to say, oh, wow, like this chapter has ended, or, I'm at a crossroads, or, something didn't work out my way. That's amazing because I'm being protected from that path because it wasn't my path, and I'm being redirected onto the one that is for my soul's highest purpose. Right? Now, it took me 5 years to, to get to that point where I'm saying that, but it's important to know that in the grand scheme of things, you know, it may have only taken me a few years before I really started to realize that blank canvas is such a blessing. It is such a gift from the universe that you don't know what's next, right?
Yep.
And that you were given the awareness that just not this, just
Yep.
not this. And
Right.
what pulled me through was that, you know, speaking of intuition, it was like, I might not know what's next, but what I do know is that there is something inside of me that will not quit, and it keeps echoing and echoing, and it's like, there's something more. There's something bigger for you. There's something more out there, and it just keeps going, right? And that intuition of knowing that there was something more for my life, that I was here for something bigger, that I was here for a bigger reason, a bigger purpose, even though I didn't know what it was, and it was frightening to me in the beginning, that knowing, that true inner knowing that we all have, if we're all being honest with ourselves, that we
Mhm.
all know that it's there. And if you just allow yourself to feel that and to really embody that knowing will pull you through the frightening time and pull you out through a space where you can say, okay, this is a blessing, you know?
Right. And
Yeah.
it will lead you, I believe, to the clarity and ultimately the certainty,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Sometimes you do have to go through those periods of time where you're like, I'm not really sure what it's going to look like, but I know and I'm trusting that things work out for me. Things always work out for me. I say that all the time, but it's true. Like, it's because it's true. And if we can trust that no matter what is showing up, we trust that it's in the highest and best and just hold that truth, then you can move forward with ease and grace, right? And
Yes.
without anxiety. You can move forward with excitement, not anxiety, I think is the big difference. And for me, that's been probably one of the greatest liberators in my path, in my journey, is to, because I used to be just like you. I have a very similar story. I don't know if you, we might not even have talked about this, but very similar with the corporate thing, rock star with that, like go, 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 very ambitious, very driven, very goal oriented. So for me to step off of that and to be like, wow, what's the most exciting thing I can do today? Like, that's
Yeah.
basically how I do my life now. Like, what would be the most exciting thing I can create? What else is possible? What else is possible, right? And that's really now how I do my life on this little magic carpet ride that I'm on. And it hasn't, I've not always done it that way, but this way does always. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Sorry. Um, I'm on the little crazy hotel Wi-Fi, so fun. Okay, so anyway, yes, trusting and knowing that when we follow our highest excitement, when we stay in tune with our intuition, we do end up on the path of certainty and clarity. And I love that. I love.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And isn't it such a, for me, it's such a more fun way to do life than have to, check off the boxes and meet the goals. And not that I don't still have those things in my life, but I'm no longer like so driven that I don't pay attention to all the red flags, or I get like really, really stuck in something. I just don't do that to myself anymore because I realize, maybe that means that I'm not supposed to go in that direction now. And I flow into this other thing. And that's when it blows up over here, right? So it's such a fun game to play.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say it's so fun when you start to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
The game of, you know, I remember stepping out of, I also own a staffing and recruiting company, but I no longer work in that day to day because it's no longer my passion, right? So I remember when I stepped out of that and I hired, you know, the CEO to run that company for me. And she loves it, right? That is her passion. And all the recruiters that work for us all over the country, that is their passion.
Sorry, babe.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna leave my camera off. So
Yeah.
hopefully, so if you can just start that piece over with the staffing and recruiting company, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, maybe I'll do the same.
Yep.
So yeah, so I also own a staffing and recruiting company, which I don't work in day to day any longer because it's no longer my passion. But I remember when I hired my CEO to run the company, and it is her passion, and all of the recruiters that work for us all over the country, it is their passion. But it was no longer my passion. I had moved on to coaching clients. I became an intuitive success coach. I was coaching clients one-on-one in retreat and group settings, and I was doing, speaking engagements around the books and things like that. And I was really being lit up by that work. And so, I identified that this is the new direction that I want to go in. And I remember she said to me, you put all of this effort and energy into starting this company, and now things are going great. And, although I'll still sit on the board of the company, she couldn't understand how I didn't want to work in it each day to, kind of, relish in the success of it, if you will, and how I would leave the success to go begin again. And I said to her, what's so interesting is that I worked so hard to get this company going. Like every sale, I felt like, even though we were getting people jobs and we were placing people in new careers, and it was a lot of fun for a while, I said we were doing something very good, but it still felt like work to me. It still felt like a push. It still felt like a ton of effort, And
Yep.
I'm a year into this other company, and my sales for this new company have superseded and then some all of the sales of the other company, which was already wildly successful. Okay, keep in mind. And she said, "You're kidding me." And I said, I'm not kidding, because this is what happens when you allow. This is what happens when you don't push. The fact that I was working in my passion, the fact that I was working, in my purpose and in my zone of genius, if you want to go there, it's like, because I was there, and I don't want to say that it was effortless. I get really tripped up on that word, because there was still effort that was put into it. I feel like when we have, intention statements that say like, I want to effortlessly become a millionaire, like you can't effortlessly become a millionaire. It takes effort to get there. But I enjoyed the effort. I didn't feel like the effort was being pushed. You know what I mean? I felt like the effort was, the word ease is perfect, Haley. I felt like the effort came with some ease and grace around it, and space, like we talked about earlier. And it was just a completely different vibe. And because of that, the level of success that my coaching and book company gained was more than the success of the recruiting company in a shorter amount of time.
Right.
And it wasn't without effort, but it just goes to show, when you let go of the push, and the holding on to things so tight. I mean, if you just close your hands right now and hold on really tight, like imagining that there's sand in your hands, like imagine right now that you go to the beach and you scoop up 2 scoops of sand in your hand, right? And then your hand is open and the sand just sits there in the palm of your hand. And then as soon as you close it to hold it tight, not only can the sand not move, right? And not only is it stuck, not only is it trapped, but also some of the sand leaks out of your fingers, in between your fingers, and you lose some of it. So you're trying so hard to hold on to that sand, but some of it is inevitably going to get out, and it's going to fall away, and you can't capture it because your hands are closed. And nothing can come in, right? And also what's in there cannot move, so it feels trapped. How do all those words and feelings, like, what does that do to your body right now in this moment, if you're doing that example with me? And if you open your hands now, you're like, it's so much better, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that, so that same analogy could be like with people in our lives, right? Like letting that which is meant for us come, and what is meant to leave with ease, right? I haven't always been good at that, honestly. That was probably one of the longer lessons that it took for me to master. And I think mastery is probably a little a bit strong, but at least to have a better understanding of like things that are meant for me will come, and things that are no longer meant for me will go with ease. And it just reminds me of like just the word surrender, just surrendering,
Yes.
right? Whatever it is, and allowing ourselves to no longer feel like the attachment, like that closing of the hand for anything, honestly.
That's
the more we can keep our hands just open and
flowing
and flow, yeah, and surrender, that just feels really true as well. Because I think, I don't know about you, if that's something that you've either, you know, struggled with or whatever, but I know for me, I used to be like, well, you're in my life and now you're in my life forever, now to the end of time, right? But now I know that people come into our lives for reasons, seasons, lifetimes, just like opportunities come and go, places come and go, right? So the more we can allow ourselves to almost just be in that constant state of openness and release the outcome of whatever needs to go, it feels a lot more spacious to me too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And always just supporting what is for the highest and best, right?
That's right. So let's talk for a minute, Kate, about kind of what you are focused on right now. Obviously, you have the books. You have another book coming out. You also just launched a new, very, very sweet program all around miracles, and I think you're going to be offering that again. I'd love for the listeners to kind of hear about that, and
yes.
what else might be available.
Love that. So we have an amazing book program that it really began from the request of a lot of my clients who were desiring to share their stories in a bigger way, and really get their message out to the masses. And the first book in that series was Women Who Ignite. It became a massive movement. We had celebrities and amazing thought leaders endorse the series and speak at our events and things like that. I mean, it was really just fantastic, the amount of exposure it got, because as a result of the exposure, the book went viral and it landed in the hands of more women who felt ignited by the book, right? Which is the main purpose. And so we went on to then create a second book in the series called Women Who Inspire. And we're now accepting authors for our third book, Women Who Impact. So if anyone is out there who desires to share their stories with, you know, an audience, get their important message out to the world, you know, of how they are impacting the world, right? Of how they have, you know, either impacted or their message is part of impact and all of that. Those are the stories that we are seeking right now for that collaborative book. And so that's it. That's a fun and exciting thing that we have going on. And so as far as the Miracles program, it's called a Pathway to Miracles. It is an extraordinary program. I could not be more excited about it. This program identifies 37 ways that people are blocking miracles in their personal habits, their professional habits, and their daily habits. And not only does it identify the 37 miracle blockers, but for each blocker, it provides an unlocker of how you can instead unlock the miracles rather than blocking them. So it's a fascinating program. I was telling Haley, you and I were talking about this, that the magic of the program is that the content is there, that gives very specific, you know, techniques and systems and strategies to kind of remove those miracle blockers from your life, and create new ways, very applicable things. So there's some of it is, you know, theories and philosophies and understandings, but then there are also very specific things that, you know, you can do each day. There are systems that you can put in place. There are strategies that we offer and recommend. So it covers the gamut, you know, kind of however you learn and whatever type of person you are. It really has content for everyone. So The content is amazing. We have featured experts who are extraordinary. We have Adrienne Dorison as a featured expert. She does a segment. We have Patty Aubrey, who's the CEO of Jack Canfield's companies. We have Jules Siebert, who teaches tapping. So she's a tapping expert that comes on. So we have all these added values as well. So in addition to the content, we have also the community, which is also raising your vibration, just being a part of these people who are experiencing these miracles on a daily basis through the program. And then the consistency of doing this every day for 37 days. And everything is less than 30 minutes. Some things each day are 5 minutes, sometimes they're 27 minutes, but it's all less than 30 minutes a day. So by the end of that 37 days, you have created all new habits. And the miracles are swirling in your life in a way that you probably at this point cannot even imagine. One of the women just shared with me, and this is for all people, but one of the women who is a part of it right now just shared with me, I didn't even know how necessary it was for me to take this program. She said, but something was just kind of tweaked in me when you were talking about it and kind of pulled me towards it. So I signed up, and she said, and now going through it, I realized that this program for me was as necessary as breathing. She goes, I didn't even know how much I needed it, but the shifts that have happened in my life as a result of this have been that powerful for me. And I'm like, that's what it is. That is what this program is. And so I'm starting that program again in a few weeks. We can drop the link below, Haley, I'm assuming, and kind of give people a site to check it out. But as you can tell, I'm super passionate, super excited about it. And I'll be doing like a special promo for any of the Soul Sparkle listeners, because of course I would do that for you. And so anybody who is interested in learning about how you're blocking miracles and how to create more miracles in your life, I would really invite you to check it out, because it's a really extraordinary program.
That sounds
We're not
wonderful.
even calling it a program. We call it a journey, because like I'm so over programs. This is not your typical program. It's like it's a really more of a journey that we're walking on together.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm like, yeah, I don't want another class or program like course.
Totally.
No thanks. Yeah, I love it. And that's why I'm really more a fan of like experiences too. So versus and that's what it feels like this is more of an experience. So I love that.
Every part of it is so experiential. That's exactly what it is. It's so amazing.
Well, and I'm also super excited to welcome you to the 2018 Soul Sparkle Summit. So any of our listeners that want to go ahead and save the date for March 9th through the 11th, 2018, we had an extraordinary group of women that gathered this past March here in New York. I'm actually in New York right now in the hotel where we did our summit this year.
Hey.
We're excited that Kate's going to be a featured speaker for that event next March as well. And that is in conjunction with the UN Commission for the Status of Women event. That is an annual meeting here in New York for really just everything that's surrounding women's issues around the world. And so we're excited to be part of that next year as well. So that's going to be amazing. And then obviously if there's anything else that we can sign up to collaborate between now and then, Kate, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to create a little more magic together, hopefully as well.
Absolutely. Always.
Yeah, right? I love it. So let's see, is there anything else that you feel that would be any last minute tips or advice that you'd like to share with the listeners before we close out our time today?
You know, I think that if I could just share that I'm feeling really strongly about kind of wherever you are at is absolutely perfect. Just understanding that one deep breath can change the trajectory of your day, and then your week, and then your month, and so on and so forth. And that at any given moment, you know, you truly, like, really understanding that at any given moment you have the power to change your energy, right?
Yeah.
To switch the vibration and to start connecting at a whole, you know, new place. And in just the visual that, you know, I'll kind of wrap this up with is most people, this is not, I don't believe in good or bad. I believe that it's the emotion we associate to the event. So
Right.
when I say this is not a good or bad thing, but most people in the world are operating at below baseline, right? And then we have a majority of people that are operating like at baseline or right above baseline, right? So from a vibrational standpoint here, I'm speaking of. And so so when we're talking about like energy vibration and choosing your vibration and breathing to switch your vibration, this is not just a deep breath to make you feel better. The reason we're talking about vibration and why it's so important and why getting into the miracle vibration is so important is because the higher you raise your vibration, not many people are playing in that space, right? So you have all the people of the world that are down here at below baseline, at baseline, right above baseline. Most people are operating in those three fields. So all the opportunities and all the people and all the places and all the things, right? You're all in the same space. When you elevate your vibration, not many people are hanging out up here. Right. So the opportunities that are up here and the people that are up here and the places and the things and all of this, all of these things that are waiting to be attracted to you, all of these things that are waiting to fall into your lap, all of these things that are waiting for you to connect with them, they're all floating up here in this miracle vibration. But because so few people do this consistently or understand the tools and ways to really connect on that level, right? There are so many people that play in that space. And so I invite you to do what you can to, on a consistent basis, really make it a point to raise your energy vibration so that you can really live into that space. I like to give people really specific, applicable ways to get into this very intangible thing that we speak of so often, right?
Right.
And so this is a very tangible visual. Hopefully I'm giving you this very specific visual of raising your vibration to get to a place where not many people are operating at, and understanding all of the opportunities that are there waiting for you, because not many people are up there getting them, right? And so that is when people say, when you raise your energy vibration, you manifest at lightning speed. That is why. That is why you're manifesting so quickly, the higher your energy vibration gets. And so hopefully that can be a takeaway, for some people today, because when I really started to deeply understand that, that's really when everything in my life began to change.
I totally agree. And I feel like too, for me, that's from that place, that highest level of vibration. Before I create something new or like really get serious about bringing something forth into the world, I focus mainly on getting my vibration as high as I possibly can, right? So raising my personal frequency, then that impacts all of the work that I'm doing. And for our listeners, just a couple of ways that you can quickly shift. Obviously, you mentioned taking, even one breath, right? I sometimes put on like Shakira and do a little dance party. I do singing, laughing, anything that's going to bring more joy into your body, whatever that looks like for you. So those are just a couple of really super, super quick. Obviously, there's a lot of nutritional things you can do, a lot of those things. And if you have specific questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to help. But yes, absolutely. The more of us that can hold that love or above vibration, that is when the magic happens. So
excellent.
Love it. Thank you so much, Kate, for just being here and for being who you are in the world, and not being afraid to have made all of these changes that you have, and for inspiring, hopefully, our listeners to know that no matter where they are in their journey, that they have the ability and there is the possibility to create exactly the life that they have been dreaming of as well. So
Beautiful.
It's an honor to have you.
It's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for this time and for creating this amazing, sparkly place. And it is just always such an honor to be with you and to share the space with you. So I thank you so much for inviting me. I had so much fun.
Oh, we love you, love you. Thank you so much. And thank you again for joining us, all of our listeners today. And we look forward to having you on the next episode of Soul Sparkle Radio.